What's up, horror fan? Welcome back to the channel. So today we are talking about the film Gremlins from 1984. Now, this film is very well known, cult classic, and it holds, I think, a special place in the horror genre, even the subgenre of the comedy horrors, which we do see a bit, and we are seeing a little bit more of a resurgence of this subgenre. This comedy horror thing was very big in the 80s. Again, this one came out in 1984. And it was a hit back then. Got to think, off a $11 million budget, it made $212 million globally. And that was 1984 money. Something like this nowadays with the inflation, currency exchange, all that comes with it. This film would have been an absolute success even in today's environment. So one thing I've always mentioned on the channel is I love the behind the scenes information. After a film has been out either for decades, a couple years, when actors, actresses, writers, directors come out and say, what their true vision might have been for the film, things they may have wanted to do originally but were talked out of. And again, that's where we come across Gremlins. So this article covers a little bit of that. So as you see here, this beloved Gremlins character was almost killed off, says Chris Columbus. In a recent interview with Vanity Fair, the filmmaker shares that Joe Dante's 1984 Christmas classic was originally much more violent. Now, I had heard about the violent nature that was originally intended for this film, but again, it was very bits and pieces. It wasn't a lot of detail. And 1984, it's now 2024, and this type of information is still being discussed nowadays. So let's look at some of these details here. No good horror household Christmas is complete without a rewatch of Joe Dante's 1984 classic Gremlins, but writer Chris Columbus has shared in a recent interview with Vanity Fair that the holiday classic was originally much darker. In Gremlins, the Peltzer family Christmas is upended by the introduction of an adorable new pet when Father Randall is unceremoniously sold a creature known as a Magua. After gifting the Magua now named Gizmo to his son Billy, chaos quickly envelops the town of Kingston Falls when the three rules of Magua care: don't get them wet, don't feed them after midnight, and don't expose them to bright lights are all swiftly broken. The true nature of Magua is revealed as Gizmo's spawn all transfer into mischievous and murderous reptilian beasts intent on destroying the entire town and tormenting everyone within. And again, that summary, it's a pretty broad, high-level summary of what the film was about, but many of us have seen this film and have seen this film time and time again, and it might even be one of those things where you do watch as a Christmas tradition with you, your friends, your family. But again, I do appreciate the fact that it was supposed to be a bit more violent. So one of the quotes we have here from Columbus saying, "I think the dad stayed behind and fought the Gremlins. I don't quite remember if he survived. The mom certainly didn't. Billy ran into the foyer of his house and his mom's head came rolling down the stairs. So there were some deaths. And Barney the dog was not so lucky to be just hung in the Christmas lights. He was actually hung up by his neck and died. We killed the dog." And if we go on to the next quote, still about the dog here, they ate him. Then they went into McDonald's and ate the people, but not the food. We had a lot of things that didn't make the final script. Honestly, that stuff is in my DNA, so it is a joy to come back to something like Nosferatu. And if you don't know, he is part of the production of the recently released film Nosferatu that just came out in theaters this past week, which has been an absolute success. And then we have this last quote here. So Chris Columbus is referring to the conversation he had with Spielberg, who came in to lighten up this film a bit because even he thought it was a bit much as far as on the violence end, and it would not appeal as a family-friendly film, especially in 1984 as a Christmas movie. So we have this additional quote. He was absolutely right. Gizmo turned into a gremlin on page 30 and did not remain soft and cuddly throughout the entire film. That was one of Steven's best ideas, that Gizmo remained by Billy's side. He knew this and I didn't. The audience needed someone to relate to in terms of the Gremlins, and that was Gizmo. So again, and that's where the article ends. I just thought this was a pretty interesting take after a film that's been out for decades. Some of this information usually stays behind the scenes and we never hear about it. But luckily, those who were involved, at least some of them, are still around to tell us the stories about what was originally conceived, and what the concept even was going into something like this, and then what was conceived after the fact. You have someone like Steven Spielberg coming in, kind of reining him in, telling him, hey, this isn't going to work, even though I know you want to have this type of film. Now, it does make you wonder, though, even if those things were included in Gremlins, would it have still been a success? Would it have still garnered as much global box office results as it did? Maybe in 1984, probably not. I think if something like this were released today or within the past couple of years, it would have been somewhat of a success in the theaters, but I don't think it would have garnered $212 million off an $11 million budget. It probably would have been half that. I would say $11 million budget probably would have made around anywhere between 60 to 90 million. Still great results, but again, nowadays, I just don't think that's what the audience would have wanted. But I mean, if we look at what Terrifier 3 did, there might be an audience for that, and it could have blown up if we would have gotten something like Gremlins today instead of 1984. So, all right, everyone, that is going to do it for today's update. I just want to say a quick thank you to all new subscribers to the channel. It is greatly appreciated. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let us know what you think about this behind the scenes information about Gremlins. Would you have wanted to see a more violent version of Gremlins, or are you happy with the version that was released to us and that we still have today? Also, if you haven't already done so, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and we will see you at the next one. Peace.